That's all they want to do. Quit being a hustler. Be a businessman. If you cut grass, learn everything you can about grass, from weeds to trimming hedges to all that stuff for getting the ground ready.
Species of grass.
Yes. Be an expert at what you're doing. Not saying you know it all, because I don't never claim myself being the best. I just want to be one of the greats. And in my mind, greatness, that Hall of Fame jacket is being consistent over a period of time.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Modern Man, Season 2. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. It's also a pleasure to be here at Woodhouse Spa off of Woodruff Road in Greenville, South Carolina. We're excited for this. Obviously, we again have our panelist, Charles Russ, with us today. Just one panelist, but I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Octavius Nelson, a.k.a. just Tay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
How you doing?
Wonderful. About yourself. How y'all doing today?
Great.
Wonderful, brother.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Glad to have you here.
Yo, thanks for having me.
Now, so for some of the viewers who have not been introduced to your wonderful food yet, I think you've been getting a lot of attention with Bobby's Barbecue and your seasonings in stores. And we were kind of just talking about the success that you've been experiencing and some of that journey. I'd love for you to unpack that story really quick, but also what we were kind of talking about before, and for this episode of The Modern Man, focusing on service and pouring into others, I could tell that's something near and dear to your heart. So I think as some of the men watching right now could really kind of get a benefit of that insight and some of your story as well.
Well, yeah, Bobby's Barbecue. Me and my wife Sarah, we own Bobby's Barbecue. We're in Fountain Inn, South Carolina. Bobby is my late dad, my late brother. That's why I named it after. My dad had a restaurant, so I started out helping him at the age of 12, washing dishes. By the time I got in high school, I was doing lunch by myself in the summertime, because if you live in this house, you was gonna work. So that's what came from that. Then a few years went by. My dad, last restaurant he had closed in 2000, year 2000. So it was like a break. And I was kind of glad I got in the restaurant business. I was like, man, I don't want to do this, man. I tell people I ran from it. Then 2008, he passed away. My brother in 2009, complication of diabetes. And then like 2010, I came out with the seasoning in honor of them. You know, some stuff my pop had, some recipes of seasoning blends, but he never had like anything written down. So it was just some stuff I could think of, because like on Sunday was the only day we was closed. We'd either cook at home or go out to eat. So I try to keep those traditions going. So I got the seasoning made, got it out there at the end of 2012, early 2013. We got into the southeast region of Whole Foods and their stores. We was in just the one in Greenville, the one in Charlotte, and just went from there. I met my wife, and then a couple years after we got married, I started doing barbecue just for a hobby. I was just first time cooking it. She loved it. Went online, saw a bunch of videos, and someone was crazy, man. The people was all over the place, and I was like, I don't know. And I almost quit, and then I found this one guy. He was cool, nerdy, laid back, but kept it simple. And I did a pork butt and some pork ribs on a little charcoal grill, but went off the steps he had. And then 6 months into following him, kind of found out it was Aaron Franklin from Austin, Texas, who's well known around the world in barbecue and whatnot. And the rest is history, pretty much.
So you had no idea when you were following this guy that he already had made a name for him.
A huge name. Did not have a clue. I was like clueless. Like looking back, I tell people barbecue chose me. I didn't choose it, man, because to be out there all those hours, man, if you talked to me about 5 years ago, probably 7 years ago, I'd be like, man, you crazy. I'm like, finna sit out there all day and cook, but that's what we do. That's how we pay the bills.
Did you actually go to Texas?
So I went to Texas about 3 years into cooking. My wife surprised me with a trip because I was part of the MBBQA. They've been to Greenville twice. They have like conferences every year in different states. So she surprised me with a trip down there, and I actually got to meet him in person and meet some other people. But I actually talked to him via email a couple times before I went down there, just getting some tips. And then when I went to go put the money down on my smokers, the guy Sonny Moberg, who built the smokers, introduced me to a handful of barbecue guys, and one of them was It was two brothers, Mike and Mark Black from Terry Black's out of Austin, Texas. And they like took me up under their wing, man. And I had a lot of other people help me along the way. I know I'm forgetting names, but so I got to go down into their restaurant multiple times and like fill in the gaps. And man, it was like life changing.
I want to kind of jump into something I'm hearing here because we talked about service and people. And you said it started off as a hobby. And anybody that has a hobby, any men that have if they're a collector, or if they're starting something on the side, there's usually a community with it.
Yes.
It sounds like you found the barbecue community and you poured into the people that were in there.
Yes. So for me, I'm a student first. I'm curious by nature. I love to learn. So that's something that I did, and like just like from my wife liking a few things I did, and people at work, because I was working at GE at the time building gas turbines. The people there was loving it, and it was like, man, you need to do something with it. And at first, I wasn't trying to hear that. I was like, whatever. And after hearing it so much, I'm like, okay, we might have something here. So I was like, and it still wasn't like, let's go do this business. It was like, just do it more. And at first, if I'm gonna spend all day out there and spend this money, I want to try to make it right. Then, when we start doing catering stuff, I said, I want to be the best I can be. I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder, or, you know, one day is good, one day is not, because you have that, and I want to be consistent. So yes, I dove into it. It was nice. I'd be up 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning because my wife was pregnant with another child at the time, and she would get up to use the bathroom. She'd be like, dude, you need to go to bed. And I was still working a full-time job. So that's what I was doing. Then when I had the opportunity to go to Texas, like I would reach out to people like, man, I wash dishes, whatever you need me to do, just want to come down and learn. And the few doors that opened, I went, man, and I bust my butt and just learned. I built those relationships, you know, being respectful and keeping certain things they tell you to keep to yourself and stuff like that. But yes, I just really love it. Then I really learned a lot about the community of it, certain parts of it. But the cool thing about barbecue, for me personally, I learned a lot about African American culture I didn't even know, that you didn't find out in school, just from barbecue books.
Really?
And the cool thing about a lot of them was white authors, just to give you kind of idea, like, just like, hey, this is what went on. You had like for Texas barbecue, 'cause that's what we do. You had the East, it was like blacks. The South was like the Mexican or Latin. Then you had like the Central Texas was like German Czech, which my wife she got German Czech roots. And then you had like the Hill Country and stuff. So it was like pretty cool, all these different cultures and how it was like a melting pot. And like, and people they just took the resources they had and made the most out of it. So it was just cool with that.
How did things start to turn around when you opened Bobby's and you started feeding people, and how did that growth come about? Because you mentioned the seasonings in stores. How does the barbecue restaurant, come about?
Well, we was using the seasoning on the meat because when I first got in the grocery stores, I thought I was gonna be filthy rich. Man, I was like, I'm gonna be paid like billionaire, and that did not happen. You gotta sell a lot of bottles, man. So like, don't quit your day job. So I almost walked away from the seasoning, and twice what made me keep selling the seasoning, I was gonna take it out to stores, just say, you know, I gotta grow up, I gotta get a real job, I gotta really focus on my career, I keep having these babies. And then I had a lady who called me, wanted to know could she get the seasoning, because she got it from me when I was riding around in my car trying to sell it. And another lady bought some from me. She sent me an email telling me how it helped her for health reasons. It don't make her head hurt like other seasonings. And my pops and brothers died from diabetes, and this was a healthy seasoning. It tastes good. That was like a silver lining for me. It really gave me a lot of peace and closure about losing my pop and brother. So I say, as long as they want it, I just sell it online. Then the store sales started to pick up a little bit. Then what happened after then was we started doing more barbecue. And my wife said, well, maybe God meant for you to use this season on the barbecue. I said, okay, you got a point there. So the original season is pretty much in everything we do other than sweet tea and banana pudding. Other than that, it's probably got our original season in it. Then we use the barbecue rub on our big meats and stuff. And the citrus blend is on the turkeys. But they have so many more uses for that. And it all started from there. So that's it. Because I tried to alter our taste a little bit to be like some of the big names in TV. But it really wasn't our niche, and so you got to find your own place, and that's one thing I was encouraged by some of the big names in barbecue. You know, you got to do it your way.
Well, two things really, like two questions actually come to mind. First, the part of faith in this all. Do you feel like, so the first thing I'd ask is that, do you feel like at certain points, it's almost like, I guess when you get your hands wet and they flick a little water in your face, like he was telling you, hey, I've given you these skills for a reason. And then second, I would love to dig in. Well, after that, I would love to dig into what you talked about with the melting pot and the community part of it, and how you feel like this really, you know, that the food and the service part could really help in ushering in some change and understanding between people. But first off, do you feel like you were directed, so to speak?
Oh yes, man. Like I went on and on. Like if I just told you just the God moments in this would take the whole interview. Like for the fact that when we was doing the pop-ups and stuff, we did some of the local church and how things didn't go the way we planned. And I remember praying to God and like things got to get better. It was times that me and my wife, when I was in between jobs, times got tough, and I was like, she asked me like, what we gonna do? She's pregnant, what's gonna happen? I'm like, God gonna work it out. And 10 seconds later, I kid you not, this lady called, wanted us to do a catering job for 150 people. And that was right on time. When we got the smokers, so when I officially left my job, and because I was trying to move up the ladder. I tried like 7 times in a 2-year period to become a supervisor / manager. And it didn't happen. And that last time I was on my way home, and I told my wife, I'm never gonna fill out another job application again in my life. If I do another application, it's gonna be for a business loan. She was like, oh really, you making plans for us? So after those couple months went by, I had to put down on the smoker. So we found this guy who was billing them, and he was just getting, he had a name for himself, but was really taking off. So he had like a 6-month lead time, like a 12-month lead time. So we had to take $8,800 down to him, or send it to them to put a down payment on our smokers. Well, at that time, we didn't have a building, we didn't have a business plan, we didn't have a loan, we didn't have anything. So when I went to go get that money out the bank, my wife wouldn't go with me. So I was actually in the bank parking lot, hands shaking. Like, I kid you not, by myself. So I was like, dude, you better calm down, for they think you about to rob this place. So I went in there and I got the check. Even the people at the bank was like, what you doing with this money? Because they knew me, we banked there. They were like, I told them, they were like, okay, whatever. So I got home that afternoon. My wife was sitting on the bed, and she was like, what you think is going to happen? And I got down on my knees on the bed, by the bed, and I said, I don't know. I said, but God done got me out of bigger jams than this. I said, this ain't what he want me to do. It's going to be a costly, painful experience. And it worked out. Even like from that part, we did it like in November we didn't get the loan to March. Like I said, we didn't even have a business plan. And then so many things happen in our favor, even like to now. So when we get all this praise and these long lines at times, I just thank him. If I'm not careful, I just break down in tears. Because I know, first of all, I told you I ran from it. They want no part of it. And it seems like he'll change your desires, or he'll have something in you, and he'll be like, okay, this is what I want you to do. And a lot of times we don't want to hear that. Mm-hmm. We have this picture of who we are. And don't get me wrong, back in the day, cooking was cool, but it wasn't like it is now. But if you really are master your craft and use your God-given talents, wherever they are, it'll make room for you. Now, I can't tell you it's going to be big and everywhere, but it's enough. A lot of times it's more than enough. So just figuring that thing out and going from there. But be careful with hobbies, because they become business. They're not as fun as they used to be sometimes. But I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the food. I enjoy the people more. So you talk about the community, man, like, I thought it was barbecue, but I think it's the people. Like, I missed that from my dad's restaurant, interacting like with your regulars and stuff. But if you love God, you gotta love people. And if you love people, you meet them where they're at. If they allow you to love them, and you allow them to love on you, if it's just a 5-second conversation, a 15-minute, or if it's once a week, that's just something you build on. And that's one thing I think food does, and I think especially with barbecue, because everybody has a little bit of barbecue in them, if it's grilling or whatever it may be.
A little bit.
I don't care if it's gas or electric. We prefer all wood or charcoal. Everybody got a little bit in them. If it's just some hot dogs. So that's one thing you have in common, but you really take time to get to know people. And when you're eating food, it's less chance you're going to be fussing and arguing, So.
You mentioned with the people, you meet so many different walks of life, so many races, creeds, nationalities, and all that. How do you navigate that, cross that bridge, and meet them where they're at, and also kind of pull them into where you're at?
Well, I come from a open mind. I'm open. Even though I might not agree with everything, I'm still open. I go respectful, and I try to go with love in my heart, but I go curious, want to know. I'm not trying to debate them or figure them out. I'm just curious. And as you bring them in, you be open and transparent with them, but you don't force it on them. And sometimes I get to going, they might walk off while I'm talking. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to stop. And sometimes I'm busy, I'm trying to work, and they just keep going. But that's the beauty of it. But I think if you do the right things for the right reason, it works out. But when people take time to listen and really listen, not to sit there to reply back, you just really get to know someone, and you get a good vibe if it's more to this conversation or not. And if it's not, let that be. Especially in the times we are now. Everything is said is twisted. If you don't agree, you're the enemy. I think it's sad because we miss out on the opportunity to be human beings again. And you gotta give people opportunity to speak their truth, because first of all, they might even change their mind tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We don't always get it right. And I think if we don't get back to that, we're gonna really miss out on a whole lot, because at the end of the day, man, we all God's kids. Even from the crazy ones, he still love them. So,
man, I think though, you just touched a point I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more on, which I think applies to so much that's going on in the world, from, race relations that we have going on right now to politics. Listen with the intent of listening, not with the intent of replying. Right. And so many people, I feel like conversations I have now, I'll be in the middle of a conversation, I can just tell that this person isn't talking to me with the intent of processing what I'm telling them. They already know what they want to say back, and that's what they're going to say. Right. Regardless of what comes out of my mouth, they are going to say what they are going to say. How do you build on those conversations? What do you do in those instances? How do you build on those conversations? And in your mind, is there a way to make those conversations still progressive and positive, to pull people into the fact like, hey, even though we may not have the same viewpoint, we can learn from each other and build with one another?
I'm sure it's easier when there's a big plate of brisket.
Yeah,
it's a whole lot easier.
He said, I'm gonna start with that.
I think most of the time they probably don't even hear half the stuff I'm saying. They just agree to it because they eating. You can't really hear when you chewing. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, man, is first and foremost, if you have an environment where people feel safe, even though if the other person's being aggressive, I think in the first couple seconds, a minute, they can tell if you're trying to spar back and forth. A person that wants to fight, if you're not fighting with them, they're going to fight someone else. A person that really just curious, even though they might not change their mind, they're curious to open. And then someone want to challenge your ideas and your thoughts, but that's cool as long as it's healthy. Because this is my thing, like, I'm about results. I want to get there together. I don't care who's responsible for us getting there. I just want to be a part of it, something positive. So you can't stay in your ideas forever, because if you're not learning and growing, then you're gonna be stuck with what 10 years ago. Some of it might be good for foundation, but to continue to grow, you got to keep learning. How you learn from others and try to apply it. So for me personally, I don't force conversations, even from religion, because some people are not trying to hear that. If I have an opportunity if I have a question, I ask it. If a person asks me a question, I try to be respectful first, and I try to be open and transparent, but not attacking. And people have told me this. They were like, I can see your heart, and they want to know more. And that's how we continue to have those conversations, but you have to go where it's welcome. Some people don't want to hear it, even if they bring it up, and you have to just know when to stop them, stop the conversation, because it's not healthy anymore, or it's not being productive. And that's what I'm learning myself, because for me, again, I told you, I'm just curious. I love to learn. I ain't gonna say naive. I think it can be better, but some people don't want it. And for some things that people don't want, you have to move on to the others. So that's why I was bringing it back to God. As God, Jesus followers, we're supposed to be in this together. And that's the sad part. When we're supposed to be in this together, we treat it like Clemson versus South Carolina, when it's us versus them, when I can imagine Jesus somewhere shaking his head asking when we lost our mind. So that's the thing that sometimes kind of bothers me, but it gives me hope. Because if God can help me like Amazing Grace, if he saved me, he can save anyone. And a lot of times it's people's experiences. You don't know what a person been through to get to where they at. So you got to give them an opportunity. So if you create that environment where people can be vulnerable, can be safe, can open their hearts and minds, you might have opportunity to be changed yourself or change someone else, or just meet in the middle, actually have agreed to disagree. That's what that right there. But for the ones who don't want it, we have to move on from it and just hope that one day that it becomes better, or just because their beliefs don't harm other people, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
You're talking about before the episode, like the unifier of people, and I love that you mentioned, Clemson versus South Carolina, because there are some things that bring people together, especially in turbulent times. Like we're thankful that sports came back, and fall football's come back, and
Right.
and those are opportunities. I think you mentioned it was music, sports, and food,
Right.
that bring people together. Why?
Because I think in that moment we are together. We have something we have in common, something we both like, and it doesn't have a color lens on it or a racial lens. The thing I think still, even with the whole COVID thing and everything that's still keeping us apart, is what we see in front of us and the stuff that we're like. People are saying like, okay, if this is bothering me, can we be each other brothers and sisters keeper? I think I heard you say that, be my brother's keeper. And when I heard you say that, it really hit me that night we was together. And it's like, be there for one another. Even if you can't really change what's going on, have empathy for me, and let's come up with some type of solution. At least ask questions. Because at the end of the day, I want to go enjoy the game with you, or I want to enjoy the concert with you, or I want to go to the restaurant with you. Is that when we leave, do we leave in the same way we came in? And that's what anybody should want. Because me, myself being a black man, I don't want to keep talking about these issues. As I have small kids, I don't want to have to talk about these issues. And let's fix on what we can. Let's not let things that distract us keep us from going forward. Because in the grand scheme of things, the things that people are asking for, we've been asking for a while. So let's just work together and really have a common ground. We can't change everything, but let's work on something and just keep building from there and let's see what happens. And that's just me being optimistic and being hopeful. Because we got to be. You can't say this is it. All the great stuff we got going on for the world, the food, technology, bright minds, what we're doing right now. Let's imagine what we're doing right now. 10, 20 years ago, it wasn't even possible. Even in the midst of COVID, we find new ways to do technology. We find new ways to utilize it, to bring people together, and it's going to make it better from working from home and stuff like that. And let's not make it, again, just because I disagree with you, I'm your enemy, or us versus them. I'm born and raised here. This is the only country I know. This is home. It's working on making things better for everyone. And like I said, we're not gonna fix everything overnight, but focus on things we can, the things we do see, and fix that and move on to something else. Or go play the barbecue or something. Go on about our business.
What's it like seeing all the different people from different walks of life enjoy your food?
Oh man, it's amazing. I love it. I love it. And when I'm out there, as they eat it, especially the ones that come back a couple of times, I try to pick their brain, because you always get, that's where you get inspiration from, that's where you get new ideas from, and different walks of life. The biggest thing is people from Texas or other regions that had that food before, especially people that's much older than me, because I'm 40 years young. You got people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and said, I ain't had this in 30 years. And one guy almost had a tear come out of his eye because the sausage reminded him of back home. And that pulls you together. But it's amazing, man, because who would have thought? And I just thank God for it, because at that moment, we, like at grandmama's house, we at the community table, we eating together. I don't care if you got a suit on to dirty overalls, we in together, we're in the same boat at that moment. So it's just a beautiful sight. And I think that's how heaven's gonna look. It's not gonna be no black side, white side, brown side. We're gonna be in the mix and hopefully eat some good food up there.
Yeah.
But we might not need it when we get there, but it's a beautiful sight, man. And that what keeps me balanced, hopeful, and kind of keeps me level,
Mm-hmm. Well, this is like your whole conversation for me has been a very humbling experience. It brings humble thoughts, which I feel like it's super important in this world. So I'd love to hear you speak more about your journey and how being humble has allowed you to receive what was there for you, and how that's allowed you to grow, and how it allows you to help others.
Well, I come from humble beginnings. I used to say I came from nothing, but that's not really true. You started somewhere. Heard Inky Johnson say that, so that's what really clicked to me. Yes,
big
I
fan.
follow him.
Big fan of Inky Johnson.
You started from something, and no matter how bad you got it, someone that has it worse. It was a time in my life, way before barbecue, where I was a little arrogant and cocky, and I think God had to smack my tail or trip me up a little bit. And when you really know how far your reach is, how tight your grip is, which is very small in the grand scheme of things. And for me, since I ran from this, I know that's God. So when I know that's him, I mean, yes, I think the two things I did was pray and go. And most time when I went, I was scared as all get out, but I went. But I trusted, hoping this is what he wanted me to do. And if it works out, then it is. If not, then maybe not. But it's just humbling because, first of all, he don't love me no more than he loved the next person. So the fact that he thought this much of me is amazing. And plus, I had a lot of people help me along the way. From a person saying hello to me with a smile is great. From the people doors I knocked on to get better at my craft, to be able to provide for my family, provide jobs, and be able to help in the community speaks volumes. So it's like, how do I be wise about this? Because if you're not careful, my wife has to reel me back in. You'll give it all away, then what you gonna have to pay your bills next month. But it's finding that balance, but to inspire others. Some people don't want it. So for the ones who don't, cool. But for the ones that do, God will show you, and that's how you have a way of giving back. And the coolest thing about it, some days I can be in one of those moments I just give stuff away. But it seems like when God puts something in your heart, or when you cross paths with a person and you can't stop thinking about them and you move on, especially if it's financial, and you see their reaction, it's just like, man, God, what else can I do? Who else can I bless? Or giving a person a second chance because they make poor choices, they can't find a job because of their background, when they come in your place and they like, what would you do without them? And it's like, wow, like it just humbles you. I get humbled daily in life, but just those big things, man. And we overcome a lot. Like everything wasn't just handed to us. We overcome a lot. If you read the word, Jesus went through a lot. To the day he died, on top of who he was, you'd have thought he did everything great. So you're going to get criticized by a lot of people that look like you, people who don't. You're going to get celebrated. I like to say sometimes the people you think will be in your corner are not, and you'd be surprised who the ones that help you. But you just keep moving, man, and you stay humble because it allows you to appreciate everything. Everything is viewed as a blessing in that moment. And just learning how to work it. Don't get caught up in it. Like I said, don't get too high on the highs, don't get too low on the lows, and stay humble. That's something my mom always taught me. And treat everybody as an angel, because you never know who you come across. And never be mean to a person, man, because you might change somebody's day that day from jumping off the ledge or something. And there's nothing wrong about being nice and kind. I had people cuss me out. I had a woman call me last week that I'd never heard for a day of my life, cuss me out. And I was trying to be nice and kind, and she wouldn't stop us. I'm hanging up the phone. I could have cussed her back, which would have been dead wrong, or got off the phone and brought that drama in my house. I just got off the phone and thank God she didn't call me back. Because I didn't know who she was. She just lit in on me, man. And it's all part of it, man. But I'm a big boy, and just part of it.
Yeah, well, and I definitely love how much you make a lot of references to your wife and your spouse, how she reels you in, how important is that, finding that, being with that good partner, and what role does she play for you in your family, and making sure that all this goes the way it's supposed to go?
Oh man, that's a great question. Gotta be careful so I don't get beat up. I had a pastor tell me this a few years ago, way before I got married, way before I even met my wife. He said, if you want to serve Jesus with all your heart, stay single. If you want to live like Jesus, get married. My wife, I think God puts us together for a reason, man. She brings the best out of me. Sometimes she's that sandpaper, but I know that at the end of the day, I trust her and she has my best interest. So it's like that perfect balance when I need it the most. Plus, it's being there when she needs it. Like running a business, I get caught up in all this. Don't forget you got a family at home. Don't forget that she has needs. And a lot of times I don't really know that, especially as men. So we try to fix everything when we really mess up. So having that balance, we get it. We be married 7 years this September, a couple days from now, to be exact, September the 14th. And just get understanding. So when I become more like God, and I'm no expert, but as I continue to learn, as I got this from an audio book I was listening to, when you become more like Christ to be there for your wives, it gives me more understanding for her when I do get it right, to be better for my children, be better for employees, but be better for other people. Because at the end of the day, you're not always gonna see eye to eye, but you gotta go back home. And at the end of the day, I know she has my best interest, and I trust her, and I love her. She's the mother of my kids. And it was times where I was kind of a little hesitant. She like, go for it. And knowing she had my back, I didn't want to let her down. I didn't, like I said, be the one-hit wonder. I didn't want to let my kids down, so I wanted to give it my all. When I went to Texas, the first time I went, she surprised me with, I couldn't believe it. I was almost to tears, like, wow, you thought this much of me, and she like, go ahead and go get them, but don't be down there playing around. And this is like a badge of honor, man. So I always want her to, when she hear my name, to be proud and not to be ashamed, and try to do the best I can by her and be that for my children too. So that allows me to do it for others. But I thank God for her, man. She's on this roller coaster with me. And the funny thing about it, after we did the smokers, after we got the business loan, they was breaking ground. We was on our way to the restaurant just to see the progress. And we was in the car, and she was like, I just got something to tell you. I said, what is it, hon? She said, I'm starting to really buy into this. I said, oh, really? I said, we picked a good time to buy in because we doing this. And I don't know. It's just like my balance, man. It's like my balance. And in the beginning, she didn't want me doing it, and she kind of pushed away. But I think God had it that way to really trust Him more, but also make sure this is something I really want to do. And I think that's when I said about that sandpaper. I think that's what He uses it for. But I thank God for her, man. And I just, again, want to make her happy, man.
Sandpaper. I'm taking that one home.
Yes.
I'm taking that one home. I'm going to say that one, fellas. Y'all need that one. Sometimes you got to have that sandpaper in your life. They got to rough it up a little bit for you. Make sure you really want to push through it.
I love that you brought that in, because I wrote down here as one of the questions for serving your woman, but also serving the community, right? And a lot of times when you're serving your business, serving the needs for your day job, that takes time away from your woman. What's that balance like? Because you referenced it before shortly, but obviously there's a balance to it, and it's almost like, one feeds the other.
So in the very beginning, my pop had his restaurant. He did 80 to 90 hours easy. That's why I never wanted to do restaurant. So when we really started writing this down, we talked to restaurant owners, people who've been doing this way longer than us. We want to do just 2 days a week, because I promised her I wasn't going to be like my pop, as in working all those hours. So she was on board with that. So we went to 3 days. She's like, all right. Eventually went to 4 days. Well, we could see stuff at home went right. We was making money and stuff, but it really wasn't right. So after much prayer, we went back to 3 days, and making sure I have at least one solid day that I'm home. Like, even if she leaves and do something, being there for her, that one solid day. And I recently, when we went back to 3 days a few months ago, I being dedicated to that. Like I'm here today and I got permission. It ain't so much you gotta get permission from your wife. It's like you said, found that balance, because I'm learning. I don't know, kids, they want mama. And for us having those kids back to back like that, which sounded like a good idea at the time, but it's draining. And I see that when I'm at home by myself, but if she feels me, I gotta be able to fill her up. And finding that balance is also giving me time to charge myself as well, to give me some rest, because you got to have work, worship, play, and rest. And being there for her, also it gives me that, as men, we fixers. We trying to plow the field and stuff, but we got to get to that vulnerable side. We got to get to that loving side, and we got to. It's teaching me to listen more and get more understanding, and just, I don't really have to have all the answers, as long as she know that I care, and making sure she's being heard. And that's one thing I got to continue to work on. So yes, for her and the kids, and I had a guy tell me the other day, I was having lunch with an individual, and he was saying, your kids, I ask a lot of questions. That's one thing. People that's much older than me and probably smarter than me, well, I think they're smarter than me. He said, your kids don't want Superman, they just want a dad and be consistent. So when I'm at home, I try to put the phone down. I try to interact from watching cartoons or watching Disney Plus or eating or just being silly, and making sure they engage, that they make sure I'm engaged. And having 3 kids close to age, they all want your attention, and I have to learn how to juggle that. So just being at home, I'm not really in charge, and I have to learn that. So you take the barbecue hat off, you put the daddy hat on, and you come in there and do what's needed. And knowing by doing that, she takes care of me even more, or refills me up, and be there for one another. And like I said, I'm just really learning this. I wish I'd have learned this like 7 years ago. But better late than never. And as for the community, you better love on the people like that, because you need that balance. That woman, that nurturing mother side.
I want to unpack something you said, and I know I had to kind of work on the humility to it, because I know as men, we've all heard the happy wife, happy life thing, and he's like, oh yeah, let me ask for permission. I know a lot of guys fall into the boat. It's like, I'm a grown man. You know, I ask for permission for what? It's
I stay grown all day.
Good job.
Boy, I know what you're talking about.
I don't think. All right, I'm probably gonna get in trouble. I like the happy wife, happy life, but I don't think you got to get everything. It's found that balance. But I think when we have those hiccups, get understanding first and foremost, and then work on building a home. And I have to get that mindset. These are woman tasks, or these are woman jobs, and this man is finding that glue what makes us most productive. How can we get the most bang for the buck? How we can get where we want to go? And for me, I'm really not hard to please. I don't really take much. For her, she's a little more detailed. That's one thing about it. Just because we different, I can't let that aggravate me. You have to embrace that. But one thing I'm learning, when the house is running smooth and the kids are good, she's usually good. And then if we disagree on something, just learning. But yeah, she likes things done a certain way, and I might be one of the rare guys, I care about some of the same things she does, and that might not be healthy at times, because most of guys don't even care about, I do, and I have to quit taking it personal and learn to listen. But yeah, you want a happy, I mean, that's your woman. Like, I mean, since when we first got married, I was like, this is it. So this is gonna work. So you want a happy. At the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you getting what you need out of it too. And I think conversations help, because sometimes they don't know. And we keep it in. One thing about guys, we so tough, we the man, but inside we getting resentful or getting bitter, or we go do something extreme, like go buy something we know we didn't need. Yep. So, and I don't know, and I think it's for her to hear that part too, to search those things, because we don't want to get lost in all this too. Yeah. You know, we have ideas, we have dreams, we have things we want to, but the main thing you want to take care of, because you take care of her, you take care of the kids, and for me, as long as the bills paid and food on the table and clothes on the back, I'm good, because those was challenging things for me growing up. I didn't have those things. So to have those now, and the bills are being paid at the restaurant, then life is good. Yeah. You know?
One thing I'm really hearing and love hearing, and man, it makes me even think about my own relationship. When y'all really become a team. Yes. Like, we're a team. We do have a common goal of making sure everyone in this house is well cared for, is happy, is emotionally happy, not just is emotionally and spiritually happy and well cared for, and we're building towards a dream, that team effort. But one thing I'm hearing too, though, that I hear in little pieces in your talk is conversation, and literally being able to talk to your partner. Has that been important? Do you feel like that's important for you? And how do you go about doing that? Because I talk to a lot of guys, and I feel like a lot of times it's literally difficult for someone to talk to their partner and really express what they need. See, you laughing at me. You laughing at me.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. Hey, I'm no expert. Yeah. I'm learning as I go. Conversation, but that's in everything. Like, it made me see it. It started at home. It made me see it in the workplace. Like, we got to be able to talk. All this back and forth, yelling, fussing, frustration, resentment, and not saying that's all at home. I mean, just in people in general. That's why we got the problems we got out here in the world. People are not talking. And when you said something about being emotionally good, spiritually good, people want to make sure they're being heard. And they got to make sure once you hear them, okay, I hear you. So once people are being heard, can we either agree to disagree or meet in the middle? But if you really care for someone, you're going to want to meet in the middle, or even go beyond that. So yes, conversation and talking. I ask my wife about a lot of stuff, and I always tell her, I think you're one of the smartest people I know. And I say that, not just, to say it because I want something, because that's not the case. I mean, I believe in her. Like, I even ask her now, do you got any dreams? God put anything in your heart? Because I know you got talents in you too, and then you probably put some of that stuff on hold for us. So being there, and as for the team and the goal now, as we go from stage to stage, as our business change, as it grows, as our kids grow in stages, making sure we all still in this together. And sometimes I can get real goal-oriented, get to pursue, so I'm learning to take my foot off the gas a little bit and make sure everybody's still with me. I'm not leaving people behind. And that's hard, but like I said, I ask a lot of questions. I ask other people how they got there. Some had success, some didn't, but I hear them all. And I'm doing it on purpose to make sure we all get there together. because it'd be a huge disappointment if we didn't. Because what is the purpose of having all this? And again, as you said, the community, I love serving. I love helping people. We don't go around bragging about what we do. I just want to change lives because somebody's changing mine. For everybody to walk through that door every day to buy food, to the people who helped me get here just for this moment right here. So it's like, how can I pay it forward and help people out? Now, the bad part, just like marriage and like business, you can try to fix things and make things worse. Sometimes you just need to hush and just nod your head. But when you want to help people and you love learning, you just find the balance of that. And my wife is helping me with that. I could truly say she's helping me with that because I really want to serve her and I want to do that for our kids. Because my parents split when I was young. So a lot of stuff I don't know. Her parents, they together and they, got a good marriage. Nothing's perfect, but as far as I'm concerned, it's good. So I learn, I ask questions, and just try to be better, man. Because in the day, again, I want to smile on her face too, and the kids and all of that. And I think a lot of things I hear from women, because I talk to other women, not like inappropriate, but just in conversation, they want to be heard. Hey, I'm here too. You're not above me. And I'm like to go for it. I'm not trying to hold you back. Even from my 16-year-old daughter to my 3-year-old daughter, I'm telling her, hey, you strong, you beautiful, God got you for a reason, go kick butt, and try to give them life lessons. But I got to start walking this stuff out too, because that's what they're going to see overall at the end of the day. And that's why I have to keep always saying, God, go back to that well, so make sure I'm living it out. And then when I make a mistake, I have to go back and try my best to make it right.
Random question, because you just... So random question before we close it out, because you did the same thing I did. Not the same way, but you did the same thing I did. You have a 16-year-old, I have 17-year-old twins. You got a 3-year-old, I got a 6-month-old.
Oh, wow.
How do you deal with that gap? And is that, and I know this is just totally off the path, but when you said it, I'm like, I'm going to ask him a question like he likes to ask questions. Yeah. How is that for you? How do you deal with that gap in the way you treat your kids, in the way, one thing that crosses my mind is, well, I dealt with my older kids this way, and it might not have been the best way to deal with kids. Now I've learned from that, but they're still there, so do they get to see me there's so much that goes into, it's almost daggum near a generation difference, almost. So how do you deal with that? Has there been changes that you've seen as a dad, or the things that you've learned from doing from one going into the next? Just a quick spiel on, man, how that gap is. I
try to be present, open, observing what's going on. I try to be youthful as much as possible. I try not to grow the 16-year-old up too quick. The 16-year-old is teaching me how to let go of the other kids as they get older, as in dating maybe and moving on, going to college or moving out. Also, it's making me appreciate it more because I see the 16 grow up so fast. So it's making me slow down, even from family, wife on down, is to appreciate all the moments. So with that being said, it's really, it's teaching me how to be a better dad, like by hearing her out, because the 16-year-old, we got a 5-year-old, like be 6-year-old, they were bumping heads today. They trying to do their hair in the mirror. I got a picture on my phone. They trying to do their hair in the mirror, in one mirror. And it's like they both trying to be independent and grown. And the 16-year-old is really trying to be the big sister, and it's different for her. Because things are changing. She's changing. She's a junior in high school. Things in the world affects her, and then she got these kids. So it's like, how can we do this together? So it's teaching me patience. It's teaching me to put myself last, which I don't think nothing wrong with that. And how can I be a better example on a daily basis? But it's really making me listen, man, and pay more attention. And just want to be there for them, because this is what I told the 16-year-old, and I even tell the little ones, I don't know how much they hear. I feel like my job is to provide for you, give you a safe environment, but prepare you for the world in case I don't wake up tomorrow, which I hope that doesn't happen, but to put you in a great spot. And for me, it's God first, love of family, and really working hard and being nice and kind to each other, and being strong and pray a lot. But really to prepare you, I don't, if you have to come back, cool, but I want you to be a thinker. Like when my kids mess up, instead of saying something crazy that I might have heard, I'm not gonna repeat, I say, you smarter than that. Why are you doing that? Like, better to think. So I'm really teaching them to think, from your past experiences, where you at and where you're trying to go. make wise decisions because I didn't always make the best decision. That's what God had to come save me multiple times. I tell people He gave me a second life. So the main thing is to hear from them too. Ooh, so we got a 16-year-old, we got 18, 19-year-olds at the job. Sometimes I get in the purpose of telling them this and that, but I'm working on listening to ask for their ideas because most people don't ask them. And we so quick to say what they're not doing, but they ain't the worst either. There's some stuff they could be out here doing or just turn on the TV. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, so build from that. And I said it to some of our teenagers at our restaurant, and I just asked them, how would you handle this situation? What are your thoughts on us? What's going on the news and stuff? We got black, white, Latin, all type of people that work there. Asian descent. So with that being said, I really want to know what's going on, and then I want to represent them well and ask them how they feel about some of the things I'm doing or the things I say. So that's our future, man. That's what keeps me curious and engaged. Was like, cause we making a foundation, but there are the leaders for tomorrow, and I want to be a part of the positive part of that side of that. So I really wanted to know how they view the world, because if you're not learning, man, you're dying, I think, or you're gonna get stupid. So I'm just curious about how they view the world, because I thought I knew, and I really don't know anything about the kids, man. Like I felt like my 16-year-old, I just feel lost, like about a year ago, and I was like, this ain't cool. I felt uncomfortable. I tried to dodge her, but she wanted to be around me more. And I was like, I can't run from this. Like, I can't keep saying go to your mama. And it was awkward at first, but now I embrace it. I even asked her one time, I said, can you give me, this was like some months ago, if it was one thing I could work on, what would it be? And she's like, you serious want me to do this? I'm like, yeah. And what she told me wasn't even mean, but it helped me. Then I asked a complete different person, much older, different background. They said the same thing. I said, well, if two people saying the same thing, I need to work on it. And it wasn't no criticism. It wasn't like, this is what you're doing. None of that. I let it be at that. And I think that brought us closer together. So, I hope I answered your question. I don't know if it did or not.
Hey, man, look, for any dads out there, listen to it. I'm definitely, he just put a couple things in my ear.
One thing you did ask, and not to be out of line or nothing, but you asked me about people wanting to go into business. You said especially young men or women or whoever, but since it's modern men, what I would tell men, don't be so arrogant and cocky. You don't have to have all the answers. You just got to find them. And God put people in your life to help you, but give it your all. This will cost you everything. I mean, look how you got, I admire you. Do you on TV every day? I know you had to go through some hurdles to get there. It's been some great times, it's been some hard times, but you gotta be true to yourself. Know your price, don't never sell yourself out. You gotta be looking yourself in the mirror every day, but know what you put into something is what you're gonna get out of. And just cause this doesn't work, nothing is ever wasted. Nothing's ever wasted. People say either you win or you learn or losses. Yeah, sometimes you get a loss, but it's not permanent. It's just a game. You got a series, or it's just a battle, it's not the war. Build everything, don't take stuff personal, learn. And just realize, like, this is what I want to do, and make sure you do the homework. You only get out of something that you put into it. Look at the Michael Jordans, look at the Kobe Bryants, look at the singers, the performers. No matter what sport, no matter which line of work, for the man, like, and everybody great is not famous, everybody famous is not great. And a lot of times if we're not on social media getting all these likes and stuff, we let that value us. Even my 19-year-old told me that, because I call them brothers and sisters, I call them kids too. He said, if you're not careful, social media make you think you're a loser or a failure because you don't have all these things at 19. What do you know at 19? I'm 40 years old trying to figure it out. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Don't quit when it gets hard, but if you try and it doesn't work out, don't keep trying. But you only gonna get out of something that you put in, and do your homework. Learn, learn, learn. Everybody I admire in the barbecue industry are students. They keep notes, they write down stuff, and they humble, and they still are learning. So if you're doing photography, if you like butterflies, whatever it may be, you gotta put the work in, you gotta put the time in, you gotta be a student of the craft, man. Man, you can learn from other people's failures too. And that's what I always ask people. Tell me something you would do different, or tell me about the hard times, because we all know what success looks like. No one has to tell us. We can make it up in our head, but you will go through ups and downs. You will have those hard moments, and how you get through it. Like the whole thing about COVID, it's bittersweet because we're doing good, but other people are losing their business. Now, I shouldn't go home and lose sleep, but I do feel bad. I even pray, because they could be us. That's nothing that keeps me humble. But in return, it's me when put the best product I possibly can. Because when a person comes to that door, if they don't like it, cool. But if they love it, I want them to have that expectation every time they walk in there, from service to food and just environment. So yes, and if you like cutting grass, I say this probably off topic. You got people that cut grass. That's all they want to do. Quit being a hustler. Be a businessman. If you cut grass, learn everything you can about grass, from weeds to trimming hedges to all that stuff for getting the ground ready.
Species of grass.
Yes, be an expert at what you're doing. Not saying you know it all, because I don't never claim myself being the best. I just want to be one of the greats. And in my mind, greatness, that Hall of Fame jacket is being consistent over a period of time and owning it when I'm wrong.
Get that jacket.
Yeah, to get that jacket, but spread the love, because it's not just me. It's a team. That's how we do this. We do this together, and building your team, and that don't happen overnight either. But yes, be a master of your craft. Learn everything you possibly can, and just don't be the hustler. Because the thing about the hustle, I actually got this from Bishop Jakes, from that SOAR book, and I actually got to meet him when he came to Gardner Well. A hustle is something that you have to touch. But once you can't do it, you get older, that's gone. A business can grow when you're not touching it. Now, you might have to have a hustle spirit to get up and go, but you got to get to business. That's one thing that our community, I didn't see a whole lot growing up. I just saw hustle. You got to do the business. And one thing about business, you got to do good business and do it the right way. No cutting corners, do it the right way, even if it don't always work out for you. And like I said, there's no free rides to the bank, so you have to pay for it some way or another. But doing it the right way by paying your taxes and taking care of your employees. Paperwork. Do it. If you don't know God will send someone, I'm a prime example. As long as you're trying, somebody will help you. Now be careful, everybody that helps you don't already have your best interest, but you'll learn as you go. You don't have to have all the answers right now, and I hope I'm not letting people think that, but as long as you're going, as long as you're trying, you'll figure it out and just go and just keep a level head, pray, stay humble, and help people too. When you help people, because you won't help, you need help. I need help, matter of fact. So you try to help people, and I don't do it with a string attached. I really enjoy doing it for people, just a good feeling, man. So,
Tay,
yeah.
thank you so much. I think that knowledge, everybody needs to hear that a couple times. Appreciate you. Charles, thank you for being on the panel as always.
And it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you. I'm humbled.
Absolutely. To the listeners, the viewers at home, your talents and your gifts, that's God's gift to you. What you do with those talents for the ones around you, your community, is your gift to them, your gift to the world, and your gift back to God. As Tay said, be a student, be a master of your craft, go out there, serve your community, take care of others, take care of your family. Do your best each and every single day, and go out there and be a model man.